be exclusive. If you're going to write an article, write it for a magazine. Don't write it with the intention of just sending it out everywhere and hoping someone gets a bite. Like, send it to one magazine, follow up with them for a month. If they don't respond, tell them you're going to take this to another magazine.
I know you've said that's important many times. Like, when we pitch an article, that we say this is intentionally made for you. If you don't want it, that's fine. Let us know and stuff. But we are not shopping this around. We're doing these one at a time.
I highlight the line in my email too. Like, I'll say like, hey, here's like basically the rundown of the article. I would link to it, except I don't want to get caught in your spam filter. By the way, this will be an exclusive Insert Magazine article. And then like highlight that last line.
How popular do you think Texas Roadhouse is? Do you think it's
like across the United States or?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if we say Texas Roadhouse, how many people who are listening do you think will know what Texas Roadhouse is?
I would say everybody in the U.S.
You think so?
Yeah, I think everybody in the U.S. We should add a poll. We should add a poll of like, do you know what Texas Roadhouse is? And just have people answer honestly.
Are they in every state? I don't know what states all they're in. I assume they're in Texas.
They are in Texas.
Really, if they weren't.
I thought it was I thought it was gonna be one of those things where like they weren't in Texas, or they were just called like Roadhouse in Texas.
They don't need the Texas.
We have a Roadhouse here in Blaine. It's called Clive's Roadhouse. Arguably better than Texas Roadhouse.
This is funny. I'm seeing that it says it's headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky.
Don't tell a Kentuckian that, because they'll correct you and say it's pronounced Louisville.
All right. My bad.
I typed in Texas Roadhouse. Oh, locations. There. Let's see what we get. Oh, here we go. Texas Roadhouse locations. Oh, I don't want to type in a zip code. I just want to see the whole map.
Wait, they're in other countries?
Looks like it.
Did you see that?
I did.
They were in like the Middle East.
Oh, I'm sharing my screen. That's right. Yeah. Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia.
Jeez.
They have 5 locations in Saudi Arabia.
That's insane.
So yeah, I'm gonna guess that most people listening to this are gonna know what Texas Roadhouse is.
I'll say the joke. I held back for a second, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to say we're not there anymore, but Texas Roadhouse is. That's pretty terrible. Anyway,
I was actually just talking to Lauren about Texas Roadhouse the other day because we passed it. I'm like, oh my God, it's been so long since I've had Texas Roadhouse. They have the best $12 steaks ever.
Okay, that's exactly what I needed to hear. So here's why. We invited, so it's Jenny's birthday. Well, it was Jenny's birthday yesterday. And our Japanese friends, my buddy Shinya, his wife's birthday is today. So they're like basically same birthday days. And I suggested that we go to Texas Roadhouse. And usually we meet once a week in person, once a week virtually to do speaking practice. And I just wanted to give them a heads up because Texas Roadhouse is a very American and likely confusing place if you go in with absolutely zero context of what you're getting yourself into. And he had to cancel one of our usual weekly speaking practice. And then he did the next one too. And I tried to suggest that we should have one more just kind of whenever he's got time, because I wanted to explain what he was getting himself into. And he was busy. So we're going today. And I want to tell them to do the saddle thing. To Ria, who says she doesn't speak English. She does, right? She speaks English, but just not super confident in it. And yeah, so Jenny's super excited about this too, because I was wondering if this is something we should give them a heads up on. And of course, Jenny's like, no, absolutely not. Don't tell them anything. This will be hilarious. And so I texted Gina and I said, does Ria like surprises? Right? Because If she doesn't, then I'll at least give her a little bit
Does
of a
she
heads
like to
up.
be embarrassed?
Because yeah, that's the better answer or a better question, right? Because if you, especially because I feel like if people have been to Texas Roadhouse, they at least know the whole saddle thing. You get on the saddle, they say, "Hey, it's your birthday," blah blah, blah the whole deal. And
You got to
but
yeehaw.
yeah, you got to eat. But I've only been there once when it was more than one person's birthday, and they actually get two saddles, and people seem to like that a lot more, and it seems to actually get the whole place's attention
Oh,
more.
because you do it together.
Right, right, right. So he said that she does. I don't know if she will like this. She might be scarred and realize that uh, she doesn't like America.
You should
That's the
when
way
you
to
eat
say
your
it.
peanuts, you should throw them on the floor, like right in front of her. She's
Mhm.
gonna be like,
Yeah,
"What are you
yeah.
doing?"
America.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they don't do that anymore, though. I think they give you like the second peanut bucket for your shells. But I remember like
Well,
walking
right,
in there when I was younger, and there just being peanut shells all over the floor. That's what you
right.
did.
Yeah, America. That's what you do. So she didn't really like steak, and that's why I thought this would be a good idea too. But he is a doctor, and I don't think he's experienced this kind of like you said. A $12 steak at Texas Roadhouse is a different experience. So anyway, I'm very excited to see how awkward this can get, and really looking forward to the weirdness in store.
I wish I was there. That'd be fun. Again, it's been so long since we've had Texas Roadhouse. The last steakhouse I went to that wasn't like a 5-star steakhouse was I think it was like what was it? One of our clients sent me a gift card to it, and I had never been there before. It wasn't like it was a steakhouse like Outback or something like that, but it wasn't Outback, and it was like an actual steakhouse.
It was local to you, wasn't it? Like,
I think it was still a chain because I think Lauren had been there at one point, and I think he had one down there as well. But it must have been his favorite because he lived. Our client was in Texas. He could have just sent me a gift card to Texas Roadhouse because they're everywhere. I could be in
Yep.
Qatar and eat at Texas Roadhouse. Apparently.
now we know.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah, Jake, what are we talking about today? Tell the people.
We're talking about how to get published in magazines or just publications in general. Well, this was a topic that we talked about doing in a previous episode, saying like, hey, I should give away all my secrets on how I actually get featured in like industry publications and magazines, because it's quite a talent, I guess.
Skill. It's developed.
Right? Is it? I feel like
I'd say so.
I feel like I hadn't like ever really tried that hard because I mean I've had to try for a few publications, but then like the first ones we got into, it wasn't much trying. I just reached out to the editors and then I did it. But then I use that as kind of like a snowball and just went like, okay, so I've done it once for this. This is how I did it for them. And then I just kept doing it, and then everybody loved it. So I think my first publication, it was Turf Magazine. And, technically speaking, I won't get into that, but it was Turf Magazine. And what I was like super focused on them, like just ignoring me or not accepting it, because I was always told that like editors get so many requests for publications or for like contributions that they just like don't read everything. So if you find like an editor's email, like what's the subject line, like how you get their attention, and then also what makes them like you enough for them to want to post whatever you wrote on the site. But before we get into that, I think what's most important is recapping the differentiation between guest posting and contributing, because especially with Google's most recent link spam update, there is a huge difference between guest posting and contributing. So guest posting is and maybe Cody, you can add on to this, but guest posting from my perspective is pretty much just reaching out to somebody and asking if you can guest post or like trade links. And like, that is pretty much it. Like, you don't really care about the audience on the site at all. You just want the link. And in addition to that, Google's also found paid links spammy as well. So like, a pay, like if you're doing like a paid promotion in like Martech or something like that, and it has like sponsored on there, Google will treat that the same as like a link exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get it right?
I agree. I'd say I'm a little skeptical about Google's perspective on paid articles compared to guest posting in the traditional sense. I would actually personally probably favor paying to have an article featured versus just a crappy guest post.
They're saying guest posts are just outright spam. They're saying paid links should be no follow with the paid sponsorship rel attribute for links. And I mean, a lot of people don't do that, but it's really not on you if you're the one promoting it. Like, so you shouldn't get penalized for it. But if you are like, I mean, you don't get penalized for any link spam at all anyways. Technically speaking, the links just don't get credited. So,
well, depending on the publication, they might not even know too. Like, say they're a traditional magazine and they've been in print for 50 years and they're small, they're niche, and their online division isn't super tech savvy. You can tell usually because their website isn't that great either. And you can inspect their sponsored article, check those articles and see if those links are no followed, right? Because it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of them aren't. But again, both of those are different, right? From what you're saying, contributing to other articles. And I think most people, if they're listening, have probably at some point experienced the random email of somebody just trying to dig for a guest post link where they're saying, I've got Web 2.0 links. These are my domains. Here's an article I can spin up in 5 minutes. Nobody's actually intended to read this sort of thing. None of it's good. It all sucks, and they're not actually considering your audience at all.
There was something. So like, there's been a lot of speculation of what Google considers a paid link, because they really have no idea unless like they take signals from other parts of the site or the page. And so like if like an ad, there's a theory that like if the post says sponsored content in it or something like that, Google can pick that up and say, oh, okay, so any link in here is from a sponsored post. Let's not count it. The other thing is Matt Diggity actually posted something about this on YouTube about the link spam update, but he's also an affiliate marketer. So I feel like this update pissed him off the most because he was super upset about it in his video. At least he sounded upset, but he said something like, the metric of outgoing links versus incoming links to the site or the page. And he said, try to shoot for a 0.12 ratio of outbound versus inbound links. But he didn't like clarify what he meant by that. And so I commented on his video, like, what do you mean? Where did you get the 0.12 number? Like, what is this? And what I assume is basically for every like one external link, you should have 10 internal links. You should have 10 internal links. So that's basically 0.1. But like, he didn't explain at all where he got that number from. So I don't know if I can trust that quite yet, but it makes sense in terms of like CNBC, for instance. All they do is advertise to me of like people like entrepreneurs who are like, this 32-year-old makes $10,000 a day in passive income renting Airbnb properties. And it's like written by the person the article is about. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's really what they're going after. but yeah, having said that, there are like actual publications in your in your industry that are reputable, and are their whole business model is media, is a magazine or a newsletter, or selling their audience to advertisers who want to get in front of the publication's audience. In the SEO world, or the even just the digital marketing world, I mean, we have Martech, we've got Search Engine Land, which are the same company, Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Watch, SE Roundtable. I guess those are primarily search engine ones, but those are like the industry publications. They don't have like a print publication, but they have their online digital one, and they're highly reputable. I mean, they've got like a DA of 90 plus. And those are publications that you would want to get in from an SEO expertise perspective, and they don't just trade links. Like, that's not how that works. Likewise, in your actual, if you actually niche down on like a very specific marketing niche, like for us, we do landscaping and lawn care. There are landscaping and lawn care publications that are specific to business owners in that industry. We have Turf Magazine, Green Industry Pros, Lawn and Landscape, Landscape Management. There's Synced, there's landscapingpros.com .com. There's tons. And I would imagine in the roofing industry, there's roofing. I would imagine in dumpster and waste removal, there's publications there as well.
Yeah, and even, I mean, further than that too, right? You've got finance, you've got, I'm sure dentists probably have one. I mean, everybody's got something. But I wanted to ask you so you talked about guest posting. How do you determine and how do you find what the good publications are, and how do you know if you're getting in front of the right people to benefit your business?
Some of it just has to come down to a little bit of research. I usually use DA as like the preliminary determiner. So like domain authority from Moz, or you can use domain rank from Ahrefs. That just gives me an idea of how authoritative the site is just in the space. The other thing I do is I get on LinkedIn and I look at those publication pages to see what kind of engagement they're getting from their followers. Also, they have typically on like their online version and their articles, they have like a comment section, and if they've got engagement from those, then usually those are like the better ones. Like, I'll give you an example, like Law, or what was it? Green Industry Pros, I think, has a higher domain authority than Turf Magazine. So in theory, like, they should have a higher audience than Turf Magazine. And I think even in like their sales material, they do. Honestly, because Green Industry Pros is owned by ACBM, which is a huge media company. So like they should have a lot larger audience than Turf Magazine. And so by all means, technically, we should be pushing Green Industry Pros harder just by those numbers. But I have never seen more success from being in a publication than being in with Turf Magazine, which is why I hammer that publication so hard. And that just came from trial and error. So we went back and we're like, hey, we want 2023 to be kind of a year of content and actually pushing more stuff out there. And we played with this idea of getting published in other like new magazines, because we haven't been published in Landscaper Pro, which is a UK magazine, and we haven't been published in Synced, which is a new US magazine.
Yep.
But
there's one more in Australia. Just for funsies, but yeah, I mean, they're quite a ways away. So.
The way down under. But I decided we published there was an article that we wanted to write. It was should landscapers shut down marketing in the winter, because we get that a lot. And for Turf Magazine, I had already previously written an article called 9 Marketing Tips for Your Lawn Care Business in the Winter back in 2018. So I was like, hey, Turf Magazine would be an excellent one to publish this in, because then I can link to that article and kind of create like an internal linking structure between the brands, but also link to our benchmarks post that we just posted on our site for 2021 landscaping benchmarks, where the benchmarks actually proved that you should market in the winter because there's higher click-through rates in the winter, but higher conversion rates in the spring. And then I was able to translate that to the Turf Magazine audience. Um, and then also knowing like, if I do that, if I have that capability of interlinking my own articles on Turf Magazine, and I have a direct content to the editor that's going to publish this in Turf Magazine, easy. Plus, we know that our site gets traffic from Turf like none other. It's ridiculous.
Okay, but can we back up for a sec? You're getting into real technical, and I want to keep it explained like I'm five a little bit for some other things. And one of the questions I had was, so you mentioned like checking on LinkedIn. Is vetting their socials helpful and beneficial to determining whether or not it's a good publication?
I would say so. Well, when you're starting, you don't really have a choice. Like when you're like just starting out and you're not in a publication, you don't have the luxury of being like, is this a good enough publication for me? Like you're not good enough for anybody yet. Like if anything, you should vet the smaller publications, and you should look at the smaller publications first, because you don't have a reputation. And this is what I did. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I got in Turf, because Turf, they literally have like, well, they used to, they redid their site, I think, but they used to have just like a write for us page, and it was super easy to pitch them an article and find the editor on there. And, I did. Whereas like when you have like something like Green Industry Pros or Lawn and Landscape, where it's even harder to get into, I didn't even write an article for Lawn and Landscape. I was just a featured, like I was just like a expert feature or whatever, for like an interview. And
so that's been our approach for that one client where we've got a unique relationship with. It's the only one where we do a sort of profit sharing deal, but that was our experience where we kind of went off originally we went to the biggest ones, just straight to the biggest publications to see if they would bite. Didn't happen.
Oh, right? Well, not quite. Didn't it? We got in like one of the first ones we got in was Fast Casual.
Okay, yeah,
that's a huge publication.
Okay, if there was a top three, we got into one, and we're still fighting to get into the other two. So the other two, we are working with smaller publications to come back and say with clout, hey, we've been in these other ones too. We really, all that's left is you guys. So that sort of thing.
Well, I will say though, like we got into Fast Casual, which is huge. Like even people who aren't in the restaurant industry know Fast Casual, at least if they're on LinkedIn at all. But Bar Biz Magazine, or the client that we do is in the restaurant industry, but like Bar Biz Magazine, they were a smaller publication that we got into. And that article just popped off. I think the article got published, and the next day our client had like 12 leads, like from that article. We're like, holy crap. So you shouldn't like just go after the big fish right away. I guess if you're looking for domain authority, maybe, but at the end of the day, like the only reason why you want that authority is because you want to rank higher for client acquisition. Well, unless you're an affiliate marketer, but, either way, I would start small and get that clout first.
Cool. That's helpful.
Hell yeah. So yeah. But on that note, when you're figuring out the publications, you definitely want to be quality over quantity. You don't want to just find as many that are loosely related to you as possible. Like really find the ones that are like hyper focused on your niche or whatever you're providing. And then make sure like the audience reads it too. If you find a magazine or something like that and literally no one reads it, or you can't find like any other sources on this, then like maybe it's not a good publication to be in, or maybe they're really not a publication and they just have like a blog. That would be a guest post. Stay away from that.
They're effectively a public blog network. It's not a secret what they're doing.
Yeah.
But nobody's actually reading it, and it's mostly just for search engines.
Yeah. All right. Ready to get in the nitty gritty? This is on my actual strategy.
Yeah, hit us with it.
All right. So first, pitch each publications to build a reputation. The second thing is you're going to want to search for a contribution page. A lot of publications have these, like a write for us page or a contribute or something. For Turf Magazine, it's just a contact us page. So that could be it as well. Or like an our team page, because what you're specifically looking for is a way to submit an article pitch. Some publications have like a form you just fill out and you tell them the type of article you want to write or something like that. Search Engine Journal is like this. And I think Search Engine Land was like that. I can't remember now. Now I just send articles to Danny. And and then
anybody listening to this isn't going to have a contact yet, though. So they got to get through the first.
Yeah.
The hardest problem is just getting above that first wall.
That's the thing. Like you get above that first wall and now you've got an editor's name. And then like you just file them away in your email and the next article you want to publish, you just reach out to them directly. And it's so easy. The hardest part is just getting into the gate. So you're going to find either a form to submit or you're going to find the editors. Which you should also pay attention to is some of the context on the page too, because if they tell you how to submit an article pitch, do it exactly like that. If you deviate from that, there's a high chance that you're just going to get deleted or they're going to see you as kind of spammy and just move away. I think probably 20% of the articles I submit, they have actual submission rules. The other 80% don't. It's just kind of like, write for us and then here's our editing team's email. In which case you've got to be creative with your headlines. But the best case scenario for pitching is actually finding an actual person's email on the editing team. So if you find the editing team and you find their emails, you're going to see some different kind of editors. You're going to see in like editorial director, assistant editor, managing editor. They're all different kinds. What I usually go for first is like the editor. So like not the editorial director or not the managing editor, but like a lower tier editor, maybe the assistant editor as well. And the reason why I go in with those lower tier people is because those managing editors and those editorial directors, they've got so much on their plate. I bet their inbox is just flooded. But a lower tier editor is still pretty green, and they're usually looking for topics that they can post or, bring to light. So if you've got a good idea and their inbox isn't as full, they're more apt to actually read your article and then run it up the ladder. Of course, you have to write a good article. You can't just like post garbage out there and say like, hey, publish this. It's actually got to be valuable.
Do you do any research on these people when you find them? Like, do you look up their LinkedIn?
Nope.
Or no?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Would it be helpful to?
Maybe it depends on the industry. I do it for like Forbes, because I'm working on that right now. For Forbes, I do for sure, because when you have like a Forbes contributor or an Inc. contributor or Entrepreneur Magazine contributor, like Forbes, you have to pay to be a contributor in the Forbes circle. And I don't want to do that. Plus you have to like actually write all the time. Like that's a requirement. And I don't want to do that, but I do want someone in Forbes to mention me. So in order to do that, I've got to find a contributor that writes about the topics that I want to write about or be interviewed about. And in that case, yes, I do LinkedIn, some studies on LinkedIn or research on LinkedIn to find out. But when it comes to like finding an editor of a magazine that just like will post whatever you write, then no, I just need to write something that the magazine will like itself.
So when you're saying the editor, I mean, can you describe the kind of person? Because in my head, I'm trying to imagine the kind of person that they are. And is it the grunt work person who's still every day grinding out published articles? I mean, because I think of when you find a publication and then you see all of the articles, the publication dates, and then the author names next to them, mm-hmm. Right? Some of them don't publish often. It doesn't surprise me when there's often one person who publishes every day and then another person who publishes maybe once a week or something. Uh-huh. Does that stuff help you too when making that decision? Or does that help you determine who the right person is?
So for me, if I can't find the editing team like in a page for it, that's when I'll go in and actually look at the articles that have been published, because usually there's an author byline, and that author byline links to the author page, which might have their email or their LinkedIn or their contact information. Typically on the magazines that we're published in, they have a more direct way to submit a pitch through the site rather than having to like stalk the editors on LinkedIn. For like Forbes and Inc. and those, yeah, you have to do a bit more kind of stalking to do that. When it comes to like who is publishing in like Turf Magazine and stuff like that, I don't really pay attention to that, because there is a more direct way to reach out to them. They have all of their emails posted on the contact page. Yeah, it hasn't really helped me, but I know you've done it though. Like when we do it for Inside the Box marketing, like you reach out to the email, or you have me reach out to the email that publishes stuff similar to what we're going to write about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually have, I don't know, ghostwriting experience is what I'd say, because I write a decent amount where my name's not on it. It's somebody else's name, which is cool. I don't mind. I prefer it that way.
Yeah, but you got to write in their style too.
Right. You have to change your voice and how you're writing to match kind of two things. One is the person you're ghostwriting for, but after that, you have to match the publication, I guess, editorial preferences. I'll read through and kind of see a lot of them have formulas. Maybe they use listicles, maybe they do how-tos. There's usually a recurring theme for the kind of article types that they write. And I'll try to take that information and then write a very similar feeling article. But that's the research is for actually choosing the article type that you're going to write and then determining how to best write it. Not any of the actual outreach portion itself.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I usually just have an article. I go into with it the article that I want to write. And then I say, okay, now which publication should I push this in? But there's Cody.
Those are your name, right? I mean, these are the ones that are associated with their Jay Conley.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Correct. Good point. So after you find the correct editor that you want to go to, you should probably research their guidelines. So having their email is one thing. That's like step one. Don't do anything with it yet or get there. But you want to find their guidelines, because typically what I do is I write the entire article out in like a Google Doc, and like everything, H1s, H2s, I add images, I add the links, I finish it. Like it's ready to post. And then once I do that, I'll send that out to whichever editor I need to. However, there are some of them have guidelines. Search Engine Watch, for instance, they have very strict guidelines on contributing. The difference is Search Engine Watch, you actually write it in their WordPress platform. So like you don't like write the article. Yeah. So you don't like give it to someone and then they publish it. You literally are a user in their WordPress platform, and then you have access to your article.
Is that common? I mean, how often do you think that happens versus somebody just makes your byline for you and publishes your content?
I bet it's common if you are an actual contributor of the publication. So like, I might not be a contributor to Search Engine Watch anymore because it's been like 3 years, but like
probably to the point where you actually go to the about page of their website and then you're listed as a frequent contributor sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of. It's like when you have your own profile, I guess, because like in Search Engine Watch, you can actually go to my author page, but in like Turf Magazine, there is no author page. It's all posted by guest contributor. So it's not common. And they also use like clear voice or something, but I can't remember what it is. It's just like a way to like manage writers. But they've got really strict guidelines, and making sure when you write your article pitch that they follow that, because then it shows the editor like you paid attention to their guidelines and they don't have to tell you or anything or do much work. If there's anything editors hate doing, it's work. So give them the least amount of work. There was only been one situation, and it was for our client that we'd have the profit sharing thing with, where we wrote the entire article out and we submitted it to them, and they said they emailed me back and said, we actually only accept this in a pitch format. I'm like, what? That makes no. I wrote the whole thing. Just read it. Like, so
You
like,
work hard. Undo your work.
yeah.
please.
So I was like, okay, well then, like, here is this executive summary. like it was weird. But my first article for Turf, I wrote an abridged version of it in the email thread, because what I don't like doing is linking to the article, like my Google Doc, because one, it comes off as like spammy, and I don't want to link in my email to get caught in the editor spam filters. So I remove.
Okay, yeah, that was a question I had. Do you have more bullets? How much more bullets you got? Because I want to like try to like not make this the monster episode where people are like, "Geez, this is long."
I've got some more, but they're shorter.
Okay, because my question was, how do you say you get their email, and you're in Gmail, you're in Outlook, you're writing an email to this person. There's no fancy form that you're submitting. This is just an email as you're writing. How do you get their attention and not get caught in their spam filters and actually get a response? Maybe those were your next bullets. Right?
No, actually, I don't think I did have this. So like, there's a couple of rules that I follow. One is
like, what's a good subject line? Like, can we start there? Like,
yeah,
what's
subject
a
lines
bad
are my
one?
favorite.
What's a total mistake that you absolutely shouldn't say?
You shouldn't come off as salesy. So like, but there's sometimes there's rules though. I can't remember. It might have been search engine land where like they wanted you to email them, but like the title of the subject had to be article pitch, and like that's it. And so sometimes like that's the case, and like, okay, follow the rules, like don't deviate from that. But if there aren't any rules and you're in your situation, sometimes I will do article pitch. Like I'll just say article pitch : like this is what it is, because then I'm just being honest. Like, this is an article pitch. You should read it. But I also do, like, if it's a first timer, like I usually do exclusive article pitch, or like, insert like magazine, like Turf magazine exclusive article pitch. And that way, like, they're like, hey, like this is like for you. I'm not just blasting this everywhere else. Which is one of my points, which is like, be exclusive. If you're going to write an article, write it for a magazine. Don't write it with the intention of just sending it out everywhere and hoping someone gets a bite. Like, send it to one magazine, follow up with them for a month. If they don't respond, tell them you're going to take this to another magazine.
I know you've said that's important many times. Like, when we pitch an article, that we say this is intentionally made for you. If you don't want it, that's fine. Let us know and stuff. But we are not shopping this around. We're doing these one at a time.
I highlight the line in my email too. Like, I'll say like, hey, here's like basically the rundown of the article. I would link to it, except I don't want to get caught in your spam filter. By the way, this will be an exclusive insert magazine article. And then like highlight that last line. My emails are relatively short. Don't make them long unless they ask you to pitch inside of it. But then like, give them some bullet points of it. For subject line, additionally, we had this deal, like Turf Magazine, they got a new managing editor. And so I reached out to my contact, who I had published 3 articles with her before. I was like, hey, I want to publish a new article. And she's like, hey, sorry, I don't like work in this division anymore. But you might want to reach out to this person who is the new person. So I did. And like, I was like, hey, I just forwarded her, I was like, article pitch. And then in my body, I was like, hey, the old editor referred me to you. I've done a few articles with her. Like, hey, here's what we're going to do. And just nothing, crickets for like a month. And I followed up like 3 times. And I eventually got so annoyed. I found like the just like the regular editor email, which was it was tied to a person's name, but it was like editor at Turf Magazine. So like it was like a person's name, but just filling like a role. and I CC'd that email, or no, I emailed that email and then I CC'd the managing director or the managing editor. And then my subject line completely changed it. I said, I am a current contributor. That was my subject line. And I was like, what are they going to do? Ignore that now?
It's like, can I speak to the manager?
Pretty much. Yeah. And I don't do sentence case or title case in my subject lines. I do sentence case because it looks way more informal, and like less like I have a stick up my ass trying to sell something. And so I posted, I was like, hey, I have published these 3 articles on this site and I linked to them. I'm like, I have another one I want to publish. This is what it's about. I would send it to you. Don't want to get caught in your spam filters because I've already got 3 links. And then actually, I didn't include the links. I just included the titles to it. And then she's like, yeah, like send me the article. So then I was like, great. Now that I know I'm not hitting your spam filter, I'll send you the link. And then she just read it and said, like, yeah, we want to publish this, but a couple edits and boom, done. So be punchy with your subject lines. Like, think outside the box. You don't have to say article pitch every time. If someone's not responding, just say like, what's the deal? Like, that's your subject line. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good.
Sweet. I had pitch versus supply article as a bullet, but we talked about this, which is make sure that they don't want to pitch versus like submitting the whole article. But like I said, like 80-90% of the time, they're going to want you to like supply the entire article. They don't say that, but ultimately that's what they want. They want to see the work is already put in, and you're not just going to like put something half-ass out when they already took the time to read your email.
Does that include a byline for your authorship?
I don't include the byline. I don't give them a byline until they accept my article, because then they ask you for your headshot and byline if it's a headshot type article.
Gotcha.
Like Search Engine Land, they asked for a headshot and a byline, and then CC'd someone else in the email and said they're going to send you over like a subject matter expert agreement or something like that.
I imagine they've got it sorted out a lot more than most people, though, because it's like their job. Like they tell people how to do this stuff, so they're probably a little bit more organized.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, your byline is just your about section. I didn't know that until 2018 when we published our Turf Magazine article. They're like, what do you want your byline to be? I had to Google it. I was like, what the hell is a byline?
It's like the first time when someone's like, send me an invoice. And you're like, yes, I will. Google how to send an invoice.
What was that? Episode 1? Yeah. So what did I have? No sales or promotional content. So think about the publication first and use second. This isn't an article to promote you. It's an article to get in front of an audience and provide actual value to them. I can't teach this. This is either like you're smart or you're stupid. There isn't anything I can say to this that's going to be like, don't be pitchy. Like, just don't. I don't know. Do you have any advice on people who like, this is all they do, but then like, they don't have no idea, let me start over. They have no idea how to like actually provide value.
Yeah, no, I know. That's a weird one, because there's the crossover between writers and marketers, and writers there's writers, there's very good writers, and then there's marketers who are doing writing or who might think that they're writers, but if we're being honest, they're really not very good. And that's okay. You don't have to be great. But you do have to get out of the marketer mindset of pitching, I'm a robot, this is generic, and actually write real feelings. I don't know. I think, okay, here's one thing I would recommend is just, and I recommend this to everybody, literally everybody, every single person in the world should read the first half of On Writing Well. And it will clean up everybody's writing.
That's one of my favorite books to date.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. The second half of it goes into writing styles for specific categories and genres of writing.
Yeah, it's mostly the second half is more like fiction, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first half is more nonfiction, which is more applicable to this field.
Right. Yeah, it just cleans up a lot. It makes your writing more clear. But yeah, I don't know.
On Writing Well by William Zinsser.
Yep. There you go.
For those of you who wanted to know.
And it really, I think it's like 60 pages. It's not
The relevant
much.
parts.
Right. I wish that they would just sell that part for like $3 and then we could buy 100 copies. And then every time it comes up, I just whip it out and give it to somebody, which I already, I don't know how many times I've reordered that
I'm gonna
book
clip
on
that.
Thrift Books.
I'm gonna clip that. I just want to whip it out and give it to somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good start, if nothing else. If people haven't done it,
I do. I model a lot of my pitch like emails and subject lines after that book. Well, when you edit my stuff, I'm pretty sure like you have On Writing Well opened and are like critiquing it. Like
it's just
like,
my spirit.
I have an adjective in there, and you're like, no, get it out of there.
There's some things that are so obvious now that I point out to people, and it's just they're cliches that people don't even realize that they're saying and how they've crept into their speech. Like,
I do a whopping whatever percent. Like I stopped using whopping, and so if you look at my recent Turf Magazine article, I instead of whopping, I put commanding, and that was very intentional.
Ooh, punchy. I like that. The one that kills me every time is "it goes without saying." Because anytime I hear that, anytime somebody says that, they say it goes without saying.
I did that in my search engine land article, and you literally crossed it out and said, "Then don't say it." You're like, it goes without saying, and it's just like, then why'd you include this? You said it, and then you went on to explain.
If it goes without saying, why are you saying it? The other, it's on social all the time, right? But I'm pleased to announce. Just announce it. What do you mean? Okay. You're already pleased to announce it, and that's why you're going out of your way to share it.
This is like can I ask you a question thing?
Yeah, you just did. Yeah, so now you get two. And I get some of it's just politeness, but in writing, and especially in emails that are cold emails, to very busy people or more important people, you're wasting their time. Even you can be polite and to the point and direct, without having to add niceties that ultimately get people disinterested very quickly.
I'm known for very long emails, but it's when I'm explaining things that someone asked a question to. But like if somebody asks a question like, can I get a discount? My email is no. And like that's it.
Yep. Well, that's breakthrough advertising. I can't remember. It's very early on in the book where it says your headline has one job. Everybody tries to write a lot. And that should never be your goal. It's everything that you should write. The sentence has one job, and that's to get the person to read the next sentence. And then you just continue that sequence until you're done writing. And if at any point something is lost in there, it should be cut because you're losing people's attention. So
school
when you think that way, well,
yeah, like school was like it has to be like 4 pages, and people would like stretch words. Whereas like in the real world, oh my God, if you write 4 pages to tell me one thing, I'm gonna be so pissed.
Yep. No, 100%.
Yeah. All right, moving on. No promotional content. I said that. If you don't know what the difference between promotional content and actual value is, you're dumb. Second, link to other articles in yours. I want to say you're not dumb. If you need help, email me. I'll let you know. Go to the everbrowspodcast.com, fill out the form, and tell us what your question is. Okay. Link to other articles in yours from other articles in that magazine. That shows that you are willing to help with their own SEO and internal linking structure and keep the readers on site longer. This was just something that I did in my very first article on Turf. And by doing this every time, it's gotten me in the publication every time, but it still has all the other stuff. So I don't know exactly what it is that people love, but when everything is combined like this, nobody says no. So find other articles that are similar to your topic and link to them from that publication. And don't worry about linking to your site in the actual copy of the article. Your tip, like 90% of the time, you're going to get a link in your author byline. And that's really all that's important. You can make an argument that saying the anchor text is going to be the most important, but editors aren't stupid. Like their job is the editor. They know what you're trying to do. they're not just like another business owner that you're trying to sell your services to. So don't force a link that doesn't need to be in there. If you mention the word, like your target keyword, but you link to your homepage, why? Like,
it's just not worth it. It's
yeah.
yeah.
I linked to our landscaping benchmarks post in the turf article because I shared a snippet of our infographic and was like, we wrote our entire benchmarks for the landscaping industry in this post, and then I linked to it because that was relevant. But it wasn't like why you should market your landscaping business in the winter, and then like market your landscaping business was like linked to our homepage. Like, no, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's dumb.
Well, it's kind of, yeah. I know you've said before, and I thought it was funny how you've been challenged for like validating your sources for data, and you just have to come back and say, we are the data. This is our job.
That was for our client, I think. That was for our client when we got into I think it was turf also. We wrote for our client who's in the restaurant industry for turf because they're going to the lawn care industry as well. And they literally said, what's your data on this? And I was like, us?
You want us to write a white paper for our website?
I mean, we can do that. But after I said that, he was like, oh, okay. And like, that was it. You know, like, it literally says in there, like, this is what we get in our results. So I don't know. It was, yeah. But whenever I make a claim, I always link to the source. So like, if you look at my search engine land article, there's like 100 links in there because I make 100 claims, and they're either like SE roundtable links or they're actual search engine land links. Okay, what else do I have? Give exclusivity. So we mentioned this earlier, but make sure that the publication knows that this is an exclusive article pitch. And do not send it to any other publication yet. I'll get into it in a second here. Follow up. So always make sure to follow up. Give the editor like 3 or 4 days to just like business days to actually review it and get to it. If they don't, give them a follow up and just say, hey, are you guys interested in this? That's all I have to say. Are you still interested in this? Don't be like, I'm trying to get back in touch with you, seeing if my email fell at the bottom of your, what, just say, are you interested? That's it. If you don't hear back after like a few attempts, like after a couple weeks, then try a different editor. Maybe actually include the managing editor in this one. If you don't hear back for a few weeks after following up with the managing editor, still CCing your original editor, then email them both back and tell them, hey, it sounds like you're not interested in this. I'm going to take this somewhere else. And then like wait like a week. And if you don't hear anything back from them, then actually take it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That is all I had. This was a monster. I didn't expect this to be this long. That's what she said.
I kept watching the clock and I thought, this is good. This is good. I mean, I wish somebody had shared this much, because it is helpful, and there's lots of just small things that can make a big difference on the outcome. So yeah, I hope people find it helpful.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what we got. All right. We said all the words.
It's so easy to write for publications. You just can't be shitty, and like you have to actually mean to like write for somebody else and not for you. I'll leave you guys with one piece of advice. The thing that Cody and I always ran into is, should this be on our site or should this be on a publication site? Mm-hmm. There are degrees of if something should be on a publication site, if we're trying to educate on a topic that people aren't typically talking about or asking about, for instance, we publish things on our site if people are actually asking about them. So like one topic we want to write about is how to deal, or we dealt with how to deal with negative reviews. Because there were so many people asking about that, I wanted to provide the answer to that just directly on our site. And someone asks a question on it in a forum, boom, here's a link, read this. I don't want to explain again. For like other publications, if it's like a topic that's like, that people might think you're a little biased against or biased on because you're the marketer, then that's like a good thing to get published in, because it's like, I didn't publish this, the publication did, even though like you wrote it, but like they still published it for you. Well, we might have an episode on that too, differentiating what you should post on your site versus what you should give to other content. But there's a lot more to it too. I just wanted to throw that out there of, you got to make that differentiation. At some point, you can't hoard all of your own content.
And walk before you run. Go get published somewhere first, and then deal with it.
Yeah. Why should anybody care about the content on your site if you're not, like, if other people don't trust you?
It's just a very step 2 problem. Do step 1, then you can panic about it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to 45 minutes of this podcast again. We'll see you on the next episode.
See ya.